Hey everybody, I'm Tommy and you are on the boat. What's happening? Joanne Marie, good to see you. Kevin, glad you're here. Hey Carolyn. Heather, how are you? Lilac Lime, good to see you. Joanne, how are you? So here's the deal. We're going to jump right into it because I don't know how long this is going to go. Callie Chaos, I'm glad you're here. Roddy Mom, there you are. And I don't mean that they're going to kill the power. I have a pretty good idea when that's going to go. I'm failing. I'm falling down. Yellow Rosa, Texas, good to see you. Simply AJ, how are you? Bada bing, bada boom. Facets of Copics. You love listening to me. What a kind thing to say. I appreciate that. Do me a favor, everyone. Smack that like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. I sure as hell would appreciate it. Teresa Moore, glad you're here. Good evening. So Nanos is back at it. Right? Heather Snoopy, I'm glad you're here. He hasn't done a press conference since what, like the 5th or something like that. But what he does instead is he goes on networks because personally, I believe he really digs that, right? He really, really digs that. Ruby for Justice, glad you're here. Hello, Sherry Dobbs. Flinner, Detroit, Rock City, on the boat. I almost said in the house. Ellie, good to have you here from Detroit. Look at that. Got Detroit well represented. Tracy, glad that you're here from Canada. The Cheap Chick, Cindy G. Angie, how are you? Tennessee girl. All right, let's get this underway. If I didn't get a chance to say hi to you, it's because literally I'm failing. Hey, Christian, I'm falling down. And I've been chasing this stuff for a really long time. And it's kind of fascinating that everyone is starting to say some things that if you can read between the lines on this, I think, and I could be wrong, there's plenty of people who disagree with me. And lately, they've been very vocal. But there are some people that disagree with me on this. And there are people that really do not want to hear that this could be family. But Nanos today, when interviewed, it was on NBC. He likes a big house. You know what I'm saying? The guy likes a large audience. I think he really grooves to this. And this is going to sound cold-hearted, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think he's going to be sad when it's over. Hey, Angie Barnes. He is such a detriment to this community. Yeah, he is. Right? He really is. And there's a lot of people that have a really decent Nanos hangover at this point. Hey, Audrey in Denver, how are you? You know, I trimmed my mustache right before I went live. It's probably never a good idea. Now I feel like I have a caterpillar right underneath my nostrils. Hey, Christine. But he was with Liz Kreutz from NBC, and she asked him some questions. She said, Sheriff, it's been 40 days since Nancy Guthrie was abducted from her home. What's the latest on the investigation? His response was, I think it's come out from day one. I think from day one, we had some strong beliefs about what happened, and those beliefs haven't diminished. We're pursuing good leads. Everybody can crap on Ashley Banfield all they want. I don't believe Ashley Banfield ever runs with a story that she doesn't have a source for, and I don't think she runs with a story that she doesn't have a source that she knows over a period of time has been very consistent in delivering information about these kind of cases that are solid, right? Yes, I've heard this too. Tracy Pratt says, per a retired lieutenant of the Pima County Sheriff's Office, union is going hardcore for Nanos due to lying on his resume. And if you read this really briefly, if you read the stuff that they're angry about, it's not massive. He didn't say, hey, I once worked at the FBI for 3 years. He's not falsifying anything, but he will take a job and say that he worked it for about 2 years longer than he did. And that may not seem like a big deal. At first, I thought, who cares, man? Maybe he just screwed up. And then I started to talk to some people that are in that industry, and they said, no, this isn't like other work. You could take 2 years off from being an engineer, and you just decided, hey, you need a little time off, whatever. In law enforcement, if you're trying to climb the ranks, when you take a couple of years off, it's usually because there was a reason, right? Like maybe he wasn't the best guy out there. Punisher, I'm glad you're here. So this is one of those things that I think people are going to go hard on him for. We're going to see a lot of this. That said, Ashley Banfield, I believe, was right when she said that in the early days of this investigation, they were very hot on the fact that this is the son-in-law. Now, out of the sheriff's mouth, he said, we had beliefs in the very beginning, and those beliefs haven't changed. Other people have their views, blah, blah, blah. Now, he tries to, if he gets pressed on it, he always backs off. And that's kind of logical. But he said some things to many of us have heard specifically out of his mouth. Like, we happen to know, why do your podcasts not have closed captions? Because I'm live It's difficult very often for the closed caption to keep up. You go back later on, if you watch this in the can, if you're on the replay crew, chances are you'll be able to catch me on closed caption. But I'm live, so there's a lot of things that you can't do in live content when we're up here working without a net. I like Ashley. Nanos is an idiot. Yeah, he kind of is, right? And this is a bad situation because, in some ways he's between a rock and a hard place. Granted, people that do what we do, if they have a source, are going to run with it because that makes sense. Hey, Misty Blankenship, glad you're here. Hey, Laura Lou, Tracy Pratt, Chicken Cherry Cola. This is one of those things where what are you going to say, right? If somebody takes that and runs with it, now you're kind of between a rock and a hard place because every one of the 500 interviews you're going to do because you don't do press conferences and have your press officer take care of this. You want to be in the spotlight. You want to be the person out there talking. I thought Nanos was just careless. Turns out he's a heartless snob. 5 weeks later, he fear factors the community. Right, ain't Todd? And I think it's to cover your ass. Like what he doesn't want to do is say, no. I mean, here's the thing. If you watched the interview, and I know a lot of you probably did, thank you so much. I appreciate that. See that? Free speech is alive. Good. Now I can start talking stupid. But if you watch this press conference, you know what? Before I get going, just let me do this really quickly because this was going to be the show I did with my wife. Both of us are exhausted. If you watch my wife, you probably saw that yesterday she's looking tired. I'm not going to tell you the things that are going on in my wife's life because it's none of the world's business. But if you've been following Reese for a long time, there's stuff in the family, right? She has the only father that was ever good to her is winding down, for lack of a better way to put it. And there's just a lot that's hard right now. So I'm not going to be on long. I'm going to go and support my wife. But this is one of those stories that people are going to want to talk about, right? I'd be afraid if I was an older woman that lives alone. My mom lives a mile and a half from there. Fortunately, we put people in the house. Now, one of the things that came out from this, which I kind of found fascinating, is that Nanos said without a shadow of a doubt, the Iceman is here. Roy says it's getting colder. The case seems to be getting colder. I don't necessarily believe that it is. They're sending more agents in. You don't send more agents in when there aren't leads to work. There are still a lot of leads to work. He said we're chasing down a lot of leads. She really is a great lady. Speaking of which, you should go over and hit subscribe on her channel because she'll be making everybody laugh probably tomorrow. She did take the night off, and I'll tell you something. She doesn't do that often. Sierra Terry, just getting here. You know what, Sierra Terry? You're fantastic. What if he is part of the crime, hence the messy outcome covering one's ass? I don't see I understand why people say this. And I'm very often, people say that if somebody disagrees with my narrative, I shred them. It's not true. If people are douchebags, I shred them. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound like that guy. But if you come in here and say things like, over and over again, or you use derogatory terms, right? Call me a clown, call me an ass, call me anything like that. You're never going to be seen again, right? I don't have to put up with that. No, honestly, it may sound bad, but this is kind of my living room. And free speech is alive and well coming out of my mouth. And I try not to say mean things to people. I screw up constantly, but most people catch me not every night. And when you answer the same questions every night, because I do want to interact with the audience, if the questions are good ones, I'll answer them 500 times. If the questions are stupid, you start going, good Lord, right? We're still, going over this, but the cameras inside the house is kind of new to me. We've all speculated that there were cameras inside the house because people have been talking about how, once he said cameras were smashed, he said in this interview, I don't know where anybody came up with that, right? There are no, it may have been the last press conference, but he said inside the house, there were definitely cameras in there and none of them were damaged. None of the cameras inside the house were damaged. So that is a very odd thing to come out with. Claire's, good to have you here. That's an odd thing to come out with at this juncture, especially because this is information, I think. I'm wondering why he's coming out with it now. I'm wondering why we're verifying that there were all kinds of, Murph, it is you. Good to see you. Praying for you, Murph. Excellent. In God we trust. Thank you. Oh, my good Lord. Murph, I am so sorry. Murph is one of the oldest crew members on the lifeboat. If Murph wasn't there Murph was there on day one. I was about to say if he wasn't there on day one, he was. He's been here since the very first show that I've ever done. And in YouTube, that is almost impossible, right? You always say something that's going to run someone off. Murph, I love you, man. I really do. You're in my thoughts and prayers. That's horrific. past the 5-year mark of my dad leaving Earth, and it's just not something that a guy gets over. It's a tough thing. I will keep you in my thoughts and prayers. That is awful. I'm really, really sorry. That's terrible. It's there. You're going to hear over the next day or so that they were able to retrieve some images off of other cameras. If you see it, you can go over and watch it. They're going to tell you that there's nothing on the image of any kind of evidentiary value. There's nothing on there that is going to help this case. Yes, the cameras pick stuff up. They picked up some cops walking around, but because of how these things are made, they loop over it. They loop over it. They loop over it. And the fact that they got the front porch stuff is either a miracle or a setup. I can't imagine why it would be a setup, but a lot of people in the audience think that. You'll notice I haven't called any of you an idiot. I just don't understand why. And it's like the Nanos thing. I completely understand why people would say this doesn't look right. Like, this guy's got to be in on it. I also can, true, for dads in heaven. Thank you. I love that. And look at the audience. You guys are a great crew, man. You really are. You know, in other shows, people would be bitching that I didn't get on with the story. But the people here, if you've not noticed, we're different than other channels. And the people in the audience are a part of this show, right? If I had to come on and do this and not interact with the people, you have any idea how much fun it would be for me, right? It would be a living hell. This case has been exhausting. CM, I agree with you on this. I really do. The amount of misinformation in every single true crime case is amazing. By the way, score one for the good guys. The Alexander brothers are going to be going away for a really long time. The number of women that were victimized by these almost billionaire scumbags is hard to imagine. These guys are the white ditties. They were some moguls in real estate that flew women all over the country and raped them. They didn't grape them. They didn't sexually assault them. They raped them. They sexually assaulted them. They beat them. They drugged them. They did horrific things, and they filmed a shitload of it. And I hope that they get a really, really nice place in prison. I hope that they're put in a great unit because it's just it's awful. But you know what? We don't score enough wins. We really don't. In true crime, a lot of these people, especially if they have money, dodge bullets that they shouldn't, like Diddy. But the Alexander brothers are going to pay for their crimes. And honestly, that does make me a little bit happier. Right. That's something that absolutely makes me happier. So score one for the good guys. I understand why people think that Nanos could be in on it. I do. It makes sense to me. I understand why people would think that they mocked up the front porch. That makes sense to me. Right. Why none of this seems to make sense. But criminals think they're smarter than they are. So when you see something and the guy looks like he's wearing a parka, you know, they sat around and planned this thing, or he did, I guess, although it's looking more and more. You're going to hear this from different people, but the guy that I believe the most as a blood spatter expert said she was very close to the ground. So you could think maybe, you know, head held down. I heard a couple of people that are pretty good at this, that I've watched for a while, that said they believe she was carried out. And it would make a lot of sense for what was in that backpack, right? I think that there's a decent chance that's kind of how it went down. I know there's been a lot made about the pants behind the house in the wash. And there's not much that you can go on this, right? It seems to be getting brushed under the rug. They say it's the same size that she wore. Well, there's a chance that if you lived there long enough, maybe a pair of your pants ended up back there anyway. But I don't know that you would take her out. You know, if they went in there and grabbed her, she may have been in her night clothing. If they put her in a pair of pants, why would it have been dropped? Maybe they brought extra clothes for her, but I would imagine that they would have done a pretty good job of stuffing that in a backpack and zipping it up. Again, I just come at this from the criminal side of this. They spent the new timeline that they're narrating now looks more like, it looks like it had a tarp in there. Yeah, that maybe they were missing something from inside, because there are people now starting to talk about things like a rug, right? That could have been taken with her wrapped up in it. I have horrific claustrophobia. Hey, Chef Brian K. You know what, Brian? I've been watching your stuff. People, if you're into cooking, and I am, you should really go check out Chef Brian K. If you're a mod, why don't you put a link up for him? Tommy, can we call the the Pima Sheriff's Department not exactly America's best? Look who is leading Pima Hour on full display. Nanos did not want the FBI looking up. Yeah, they up his dress. And they've been looking up his dress for a long time because of things that he's done. He's under investigation. Do me a favor, 500 of you in here, smack that like button. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notification. They cannot get any images of the person who caught Nancy inside the house. So it must have been someone who knew where the cameras were located. or they just got looped over. The narrative that we're hearing now, G-Man, I'm so freaking glad you're here. I didn't get an email from you, still love you. But the image that we're starting to hear again and again and again is that more than likely, this is just a loop, right? When you don't have the subscription hooked up, there's not a big place in cyberspace that's going to store your shit. So it's going to get recorded over, just very much like when you delete images on a phone, right? They're going to get recorded over. It's not like there's an unlimited amount of space, right? So anytime you delete something, it's not going away. It's just getting recorded over. And on phones, they've gotten pretty good at being able to pull that stuff out, even if it's been recorded over. But that's your phone, right? Everything is right in there. It's all connected. It's all in one place. The other option for that is it's going into a dumpster with everybody else in America kind of thing. And maybe they do it regionally. Who knows, man? Who knows exactly how it goes down? But it definitely goes down in a way that makes it very difficult to recover. You know, every once in a while, I just want to out people in my chat, make them look stupid. I'm never going to use names. There was a jerk in the comment section last night that I wish that they had the courage to leave up their shitty comments. I didn't take them down because I really wanted to highlight what this person had said. But if you don't understand the diction, do me a favor, keep your mouth shut about it. All right. Who exactly is running the Nancy Guthrie case, the FBI or Pima County Sheriff's Office? I would be willing to bet that neither parties could tell you that answer, honestly. Looking at her bedroom video, she did live a super lavish lifestyle. Robert makes sense. No, she didn't live a super elaborate. No, it didn't look like a very affluent setup. You know, the bedroom of somebody that you would think, I want to go in there and grab that. Now, often people have a lot of money in jewelry. Maybe they're just not into all of that stuff. But truthfully, it didn't look that way. I agree with you. We don't know who's running this investigation, and I don't think they do. And this is something that happens every time you bring in the feds. You're going to have issues with this. There have been people in the past that will call in the feds and go, we will do whatever you tell us to do, right? We will work with you. You need legwork. You need us to run out and chase down leads. You want warrants served. You want people arrested. We're your guys. But it seems like there's 100 people that are working on this case. You got the federal government coming in on top of that. And I think that they're stepping all over each other's you-know-whats. And some of the proof in the pudding on this is the neighbor that says 2 people showed up at the house in hoodies, right? A man and a woman, and stayed there for hours and scared the hell out of her. And then when she calls, they go, yeah, we don't know if we had anybody out there. That's terrifying to me. Does political motive make the most sense if the family isn't involved? No, I don't see a political motive in this at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me personally. The Epstein files now get 8 times more press than the Nancy Guthrie case. In the beginning, it was overwhelming for about a week. I had a stat that I used to put up. Even when it was overwhelming, it was about a 60-40 split, 60% on Nancy Guthrie and 40% on the Epstein sagas. I don't understand where there could be any benefit in this. People say false flag. Hear that, Johnny Skilla? That's one of the death sentence words on YouTube. They will not push your videos. Rhonda, good to have you here. Whine a little bit more. How are you? North Florida van. Nanos bought and paid for before the crime took place. I mean, I understand why people say that. Being a former criminal, would the feds have been brought in if there was no ransom notes? If somebody is abducted, it's a kidnapping by definition. So a person's kidnapped. If somebody wants money for them, it's a kidnapping for ransom. But either way, it's a kidnapping. So the feds would have been brought in because the body is not found and they assume she left alive. And now they're definitely saying because of the blood spatter experts are now leaking. That information has probably been there since day one. Hey, Cat. But yeah, I can't get the start times figured out either. That's not your fault. Normally, I'm 9:05 every night, but we're on a rolling blackout schedule right now. So we lose power here for an hour a night until they fix this generator. They work on it at night, which is respectful, and they cut out for 9 hours. Every sector takes a little bit of time off. So, but I promise you it'll level out. But this is a situation for these people that is almost a no-win. They're going to step all over each other. They're going to argue, but we're getting so much information coming out in spits and dribbles that are making it very difficult for us to all get a beat on this. But now that the blood spatter experts are starting to leak all of this stuff out, there's definitely aspiration in the blood, right? You're not dead if there's aspiration in the blood. They're also tightening up the time frame, right? It may be more realistic that they were inside that. Is Nancy a part of the Clinton body count? No. What's the benefit to the Clintons to take Nancy out? I mean, honestly, and I'm not being disrespectful, but logically, what's the benefit? What does it do? If your thought is, well, she did a story on Epstein, she did a story like this. There are reporters out there that have done this. There are reporters out. The reason that Epstein got arrested the second time is because of the stories that were done on him by one particular journalist from Florida. Grab her mom, right? That would have made a lot more sense. They really are doing a great job at taking this down. Why do you think the police report is dated at 7 a.m.? Nanos stated that they were there at night. There are some screw ups that happened in the beginning of this. The time frame of 28 minutes makes more sense than the longer time frame. But when we saw the spike on there, Savannah is in the Epstein files. Her hubby worked for Clinton. No, he didn't. No, he did not. Nice try, but he didn't. And these things have been debunked. Do you know who else is in the Epstein files? Elvis is in the Epstein files. Janis Joplin is in the Epstein files. And what people do, unfortunately, is they go in there and just say, is this person in the Epstein files? The fact that Epstein wanted to reach out to any reporter that they could possibly get their hands on, Harvey Levin is in the Epstein files. I can't stand Harvey Levin. If I could do shows just ripping up Harvey Levin, I would be all over that. But what's that? Or Xfinity. Yeah, or Xfinity Mobile, the worst phone company on planet Earth. Would you be angry if your mom was taken or more sad? I would be really pissed off. I mean, the sad would happen after the realization that she's gone. And as much as I can look at this case and say, I don't think there's a chance in hell Nancy Guthrie's still alive. Grace isn't either. That Nancy Guthrie is still alive. I would not be able to say that about my own mother. I would be holding on with, hey, greatest Bumblebee, I'm glad you're here. I would be holding on for every bit of hope I possibly could. Or as the daughter says, I would be blowing on the embers of hope for multiple reasons, not just drinking. Hey, my man, I'm proud of you. I really am. But I would love an email. I really would. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. You're gonna whack her because she's in the files. You know how many names are in the files, and they just happen to pick Savannah Guthrie, and they didn't go after her, right? Why would you? Anytime you want to do a false flag, anytime you want to do something like that, normally they come in a couple of varieties, and they're designed to affect the entire nation. They're not designed to affect a family. I believe that this was absolutely targeted. They weren't just wandering around. They went to that house, absolutely, because of Savannah Guthrie. I think they thought they were going to be able to pull some money out of this and then screwed up in the process. We're talking about somebody that's 84 years old. If you got her out of bed in the middle of the night, right, threw her in a tarp or in a rug or whatever, rolled her up, carried her out, and her side patio. Mopman says, I don't know if you guys heard what I just said, but since they found new pics from the backyard and there's supposedly nothing from that night, why won't they say anything about the cameras pointed at the garage, drive, and her side patio? Well, I think he kind of alluded to that, honestly. What he said was that none of the other cameras were damaged, right? But we've not gotten any kind of material off of any of them. That was one of those nights. One of those nights. I do not have Messenger. Can you hit me up at tommyscoville@gmail.com? That is a channel that would the people from here go and hang out on. I always feel weird looking over their shoulder because they want to talk about stuff. I don't have Facebook. I have eschewed all social media. And the reason is I used to like it because you could get together with people, you could have conversations. Now I go on there, I need to hear who you voted for, right? And why the person that didn't vote for that person's an idiot. It's like 90% of the content. I just can't look at it. I apologize. As I've said before, the feds know a hell of a lot more than they're telling the public. Let's hope so. Any news about the location of Annie's vehicle? Nothing real, but the best thing that I've heard that I do, and I'm telling you right now, this isn't provable, but I happen to believe it. There have been some leaks that said that they took the entire car to Quantico. Now, I don't know whether or not that is the truth, but thank you, G-Man. I look forward to it. But it would make sense to me. It would make sense to me. The Nanos tends to over-dramatize things. He should use a PR person. Good gravy. Yeah, you're right. Tommaso plan hired to kidnap. Let's get this up bigger so maybe my eyes. I have been looking at computer screens for 4 days. Tommaso's plan hired others to kidnap Nancy. Nanos is covering for him. It looks that way, doesn't it? I just think the guy's incompetent. There's 700 of you in here. Do me a favor, smack that like button, hit the bell for notification. And if I still got a mod in here, could you put a link up to Chef Brian K, please? You don't go onto custodian social media and see who voted for El Presidente and who didn't. Oddly enough, I don't. You know what? I'm going to put a 3 in the chat. Congratulations on 3 years. I have worked with people, I swear to God, that have been addicted to everything you can be addicted to on planet Earth. But there's just something about tar. When people are able to get off of that, maybe it's because I've done my body weight in it, but I may have done more than my body weight in it. I did it for about 3 decades. But if there's just something so fantastic about people that can beat heroin, my hat is off to you. I'll don the cap. Really appreciate it. Thank you for letting us know. I love that. Some kind of collusion between the two. I understand why it looks that way, but what is the motive? How much you got to pay? Do you think Savannah and Ashley are really mad at each other? I would imagine that would be hurtful, right? That would be hurtful, especially since they've known each other since since Court TV was Court TV. If you remember back in the day, they both worked there. And then it kind of went defunct, and then it came back, and it was True TV, and it got all weird. But I'm of the belief that would put a rift between the two of them, and they're reporters, so she's probably thinking about things like journalistic integrity. There are a lot of people that Sorry, people, but the in and out of the internet's frustrating me a bit. What about political motives outside the Epstein theory? Give me one, and we'll be happy to talk about it. Ravioli, and I'm not being a wise ass. I can't think of one. I don't understand what the political theory would be, right? I mean, so when I think political, right, I think trying to sway an entire large group of people. Think about the Oklahoma City bombing and what that did. Right? Those kind of things where you say, we're going to take a lot of your right. Specific words. But we're going to keep kids from dying in daycare centers from lunatics with bombs. I guess people on the left would think like ICE or something. Well, but I don't understand how grabbing Nancy Guthrie would benefit anything in the ICE situation. Xfinity Laura Lou says, I can't blame this. Yeah, I'll blame it on him anyway. So I'll blame it on him anyway. Well, what the hell? Honestly, it probably has more to do with what's going on with the power, right? Because a lot of the lines are run on the same cables, on the same poles. Okay, gonna relocate to the Jeep, make some gas money. That's the spirit. Or like crazy. Again, even if they're if you believe that this could be a Palestinian thing, where's the benefit? So if you want to send a political message, there needs to be a message. So this woman has disappeared, and millions of true crime aficionados and hundreds, if not thousands, of professional investigators can't find a motive. If you did this, you would send a letter to the news stations and say, I'm doing this for the people of Palestine. I'm doing this because of what ICE is doing to brown individuals, right? Whatever your particular tint is, right? Everyone and their Aunt Tilly is in the Epstein files. I joke about it constantly, but had I not been in prison, who knows, man? Maybe I would have ended up in it. Yes, unless that's what law enforcement isn't revealing. They wouldn't have sent it to law enforcement, Ravioli, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong on this, but traditionally, think about the people in the past that really wanted the world to know things. I think a great example of that would probably be the Unabomber, right? When Ted Kaczynski was terrorizing the universities and airlines, right? Primarily, that's how he got the name Unabomber, right? It was universities and airlines, and he was sending bombs and blowing them up, right? Randomly picking certain individuals from these companies who were high up in the chain and blowing them up. He wrote a 62,000 or something like that word manifesto and said, I'll stop doing this if you print this in the newspapers. That's the kind of stuff that people do. You want, if you do this kind of a thing and no one finds out about it, I mean, you and three friends go, boy, we scored one for Palestine, right? Or we scored one for the ICE people. To me, it doesn't make sense. Symbionese Liberation Army, great example, right? These were groups that wanted, not Aunt Tilly. And when I say in the Epstein files, I don't mean I would have been down on the island. I just mean that everybody, the number of people that didn't meet him that are in those files, people that he reached out to, but I promise you we'll be doing stuff on him because the people that knew him, I'm going to be going all after. Iran knew of the pending attack and kidnapped Nancy in retaliation. There you go. That's a theory. Well, it's funny that you say that, Amy G. That's not far off of what we're going with. The media is wrapped up with Nancy Guthrie. No one is talking about the general. Yeah, and this is very, very common in true crime. I'm putting something together on it, but I don't want to do what everybody else did. I don't want to come out here and give you, 2 minutes of news on it. But and what she means by the general is this is really interesting stuff because of what this guy did for a living. If Savannah had given the reward at the beginning, would Nancy be back home? I can't answer that. I think that what's unfortunate is that allegedly this is something that they wanted to have happen, right? Like they wanted to give that money, and law enforcement, whether that was the FBI or whether that was Nanos, talked him out of it. Can you imagine what they must feel like? Because they're going to spend the rest of their life going, what would have happened if we had put that up in the first couple of days? I don't think she made it out of the first 24 hours, right? Because, what is the reason for grabbing this person? I personally don't think there's any political motive. I could be wrong, but it doesn't make sense to me when you try to critical think it out. However, I can't imagine one person doing this alone. I'm a big dude. I couldn't carry 150 pounds wrapped up in a rug out of a house alone. And if I could, hey, Roberta, good to see you. If I could, I don't think it would have been close enough to the ground to have the blood spatter experts are saying she was close to the ground, right? That sounds like a couple of people carrying that. Unabomber's brother had to come to terms that it was him and turned Ted into the authorities. They did. And he got sent to ADX Florence. When he was there, I was actually right across the street at they call it Supermax. ADX is way past Supermax. It's unbelievable. But I was at the Supermax at Florence, which is right across the street. Why do you think they went for Nancy and not the Annie and her kid, or even one of Savannah's kids? Would have been tough, but made more sense than an 84-year-old woman whose chances are super slim. I agree with you. And it seems odd to me. Yeah, the UFO general, I promise we'll talk about. I think somebody either loved or hated Savannah. Christian, I understand why you say that. It's a really logical thing, right? That erotomania, where you get so attached to an individual that you see every day that you believe that you're in a relationship and you believe that they're blowing you off. If you've ever heard the song, Why Do You Build Me Up? That song is about that situation. That's literally what that's written about, right? It's allegedly. It was a letter that was written to one of the band members by somebody that had such a unbelievable parasocial crush on one of the band members that they were literally saying, why do you never show up when you say you're gonna? The guy's like, who the hell is this? And they wrote a song about it. Hey, Tommy, how many Ayatollahs is Iran going to go through before they get it? Trump is a roadrunner. Iran leaders are coyotes. Yeah, it seems like a bad idea. If somebody offered me that gig, I think I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna check out this mop in the hall thing. Looks like it's working out for me. But thanks. I'm sure someone will take you up on that. To me, the tattoo is fake. It might be. It looks like every prison tout I've ever seen, but I absolutely could be wrong. I like the cardboard guy, the new one. What does Nanos mean when he says they think they know motive? How do you know motive but not who the suspect is? Maybe critical thinking, right? Maybe they walked around in there and looked at jewelry boxes and looked at things that they go, if this is just your, it could be henna. Someone asked that last night. It absolutely could be. Where you say, why wouldn't they steal something? You don't become someone that breaks into a house in the middle of the night and grabs somebody as your first crime. That's odd, right? Especially to get put into that get up and do all of that. This person probably has a criminal record. This person is probably a career criminal more than likely, or at least has a decent record, right? So those kind of people steal shit. Like you go into a house and there's a wallet on the table. You spent 28 minutes, 42, whatever you believe now, but they were in there long enough to steal some shit, right? I promise you. And just not start running off with stuff doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Sheriff said this can happen again. If it does, he's my prime suspect for instigating it. It seemed like a really odd thing to say, right? It was not a robbery. It definitely wasn't. And I think that's probably what they, look, these people do this for a living, right? And I don't. I'm just a guy that hung out with a lot of people that have been busted for these kind of things. And there is a playbook that almost everybody on earth who kidnaps somebody follows, right? And that playbook has to do with making sure that cops don't get involved, because what you don't want to happen is this, right? You don't want them working day after day to go, all right, the person's between 5'9" and 5'10", or now they're saying maybe 6 to 6 feet, who knows? But they work all that out and they keep narrowing the pool down. That doesn't happen if you can make sure that they don't call the authorities. And what you want to do is scare the crap out of them. So you leave a ransom note so that when they go, hey, mom didn't show up at her friend's house to watch video church. And you go over to check it out, and there's a note sitting in there that says, if you want to see this person alive, the first thing you're going to do is not call the police, right? That's usually how kidnappings happen. So I'm starting to think like you, Mop Man, says Neptune Lioness. Mop's pretty sharp. And I don't want to out the guy, but he's probably thinking from my side of the equation as well. He's trying to get the eyes off his resume and bad behavior. The funny thing is, if he didn't act like this, nobody would have been pulling his resume. If he had closed down the crime scene, if he had done intelligent things, people start digging deep into every single aspect of what you've done in your entire life when they hate you, right? Logically or illogically. When they absolutely can't stand you, they're going to try to build a narrative. Mop Man. The only thing they took was Nancy and probably her will. I don't know that the will was snatched. It might have been, right? That's a possibility. They were in there a minute. Yeah, and to take Aaron Cross and the union going after him. Yeah, too late. Absolutely too late. I can't see the sheriff involved. Motives. See, that's how I look at it. Like, honestly, you're at the end of your career. What are you going to, you're in it for $1 million for the last whatever number of years in your life. The older I get, the less I give a shit about money, right? When I was young, I would do really stupid things for cash. These days, I mean, I'll use the words YouTube doesn't want me to use. That's about the extent of what I'm willing to do as far as getting rowdy. I don't think the sheriff's involved. I just like saying it because he's such a schmuck. And I don't bag on anyone that says that they think the sheriff's involved. I personally can't see a motive. That said, I can completely see why every single person that says this says it, because it just, he's just trying to get eyes off his doing a piss poor job. Why no ransom note? Because a ransom note, so back to the playbook. There's a playbook for this. And the first thing you do is you leave the ransom note. And then they're going to reach out to you and say, how do we know she's okay? I'm not going to send you any money if she's dead. And they go, we're going to send you a video. And she's going to tell you, because you can AI a video. She's going to tell you every one of the kids' nicknames that they had as a kid, which one of you went to camp, which one of you didn't. And you had to sit the person down in a chair and you force them to answer questions that are going to be difficult for anyone else, right? How are you and the family doing? Legalized freedom? I've had better days. I'm run down. Hey, Tommy, do you think these guys were burglars for a living and this was a retirement? Yeah, I think that most criminals, I didn't rob a bank as my first crime, right? You start shoplifting and boosting shit. And when that doesn't work, you start going to jobs that are just a little bit more rugged, right? Maybe you hit a jewelry store, you do something like that. And you sort of climb. Hold on one second. Sorry. Is pot legal in Ecuador? It is not. Now, are they going to harass people for pot in Ecuador? They don't harass people for anything in Ecuador. For real. You have to do felonies that piss people off. The previous president allowed 10 grams of anything. When our new president came in, he did away with that. But I don't think they care much. You walk down the Malecon and you'll smell it. There are people that smoke it outside all the time. I've never seen somebody arrested in this country. I've seen them pull people out of the car and smack them in the head, but I've never seen them arrest anybody. Still think that Neckbird and Annie went to the house that morning to remove the written ransom note. I don't know that I ever thought that. I just said that I run through these things in my head. It's logical as hell. If you left a ransom note and then on the way out, or you had the perps leave a ransom note and she dies, snag that ransom note, right? Don't make this thing look like you'd rather have it look like a burglary gone wrong than this is a kidnapping. The kidnapping throws a switch. There is an entire branch of the FBI that deals with kidnappings. So it ain't their first rodeo. When they're coming into town, I don't care where you kidnap someone in the United States, the sheriff isn't going to go, yeah, I've done 10 of them, right? That's not logical. They haven't done a lot of these because they don't really happen, right? I'm too tired to redo. Here, you're my pick for my exhausted chat. Patty Lynch, thank you. They dope slap them, Annie. That's exactly what they do. I literally, caught me. Waved the guy over to the curb and then smacked him as hard as he could on the helmet. I got a really good laugh out of it. And then yelled at him, put his finger in his face and yelled at him. I saw one fight since I've been in this country, and it was during the Carnival, and cops were involved. Like, people swung at cops. It was about 5 or 6 people in a little melee. Nobody really got hurt, but a lot of people got hit. And the cops didn't arrest the people that hit them. They did tune them up, though. Savannah stated her feelings about Ashley Banfield's theory, but she never said the word innocent about her sister. I find that odd too, right? There's no mention of the ransom. Ashley was right. Recall, there was no mention of a ransom till she brought it up. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Lucky you. Anyway, I'm sick of this case. I'm sick of being being stalled. Nancy needs to be found, and the law enforcement or so-called working this case. Yeah, we're not up to, when we look back on it, we're going to hate on, hey, Rox, we're going to look back on this and we're going to hate on Nanos. There's absolutely no way we won't, right? But think about the Brian Kohberger case. We look back on it now and we go, justice, right? But it was 47 days before that justice showed up. Hold on one second, people. It's family. Sorry, it's family. So we look back on Kohberger and we don't go, it took him 47 days, right? We say, that's justice served. And there's been a lot of cases like this, right? There's really a odd, another thing, Tommy, every criminal has their own routine signature. Yeah, like type entry, type crime tools. Yeah. No mention of any details so that other police departments across the USA could compare notes. Now, I would like to believe that they sent that kind of information out. A lot of people get really hung up on the fact that there was a wrecked car at the house that they did that initial search on. And maybe that car was involved in the kidnapping or whatever. I promise you that not the cops, right? Nanos may be a jackwagon, but the rank and file cops in Tucson aren't idiots. And you see that car, they're going to go over there. They're going to pull the VIN. They're going to run that thing to see if it's been in a wreck, if it was, when. I also am not of the firm belief that a criminal of any kind uses a car, wrecks it in the commission of a crime, and parks it in their friggin' driveway, right? That to me doesn't pass the smell test this much, right? You would ditch that car and then report it stolen. That is standard operating procedure for any criminal that goes out and does something that they might be spotted doing. What they're going to do is they're going to go out there, and the second that car is wrecked, they're going to ditch it somewhere, wipe that thing down as best as they can, and then call in the morning and go, I woke up and my car was missing. May have done it once before in my life too. I think the person in the video had female energy. You're not the first person to say that, Misty. In fact, I wish I had $1 for every person that has said that. There's also a lot of people that have commented on the eyes looking very much more feminine than male, and also to include eyelashes and things like that. And Misty Blankenship, thank you for keeping free speech alive. I swear to you, it makes a huge difference. Speaking of making a huge difference, do me a favor, people, and hit the bell for notification, right? That also helps. Honest to God, and it doesn't cost a thing. It really chaps YouTube's butt when they have to push me. And the number of hypes in last week, you are bastions of free speech. You're making it happen. If Savannah found out right away that it was family, could she have called Senator Kelly for help? And he put in a call to Nanos to wind the case ASAP or throw it. Fake Monkey says maybe a trans. I had, without exaggeration, 25 emails that think this is a trans individual. Believe it or not, traditionally, and this has to be looked at. Don't start raking me over the coals until I finish this sentence. All right, hold your keyboards. Traditionally, trans people are passive as hell, and they don't get into that kind of action. However, and I'm going to lose some subs, but there are a lot of people out there today who are living that life because it's the kind of the and it's become a very kind of vogue thing to decide that you're going to live in a different gender. And many of them bail on it after a few years. But that isn't the traditional trans, right? The traditional trans people were literally maybe born in the wrong body and really felt that from childhood. And it's a very different thing than what's occurring today. And if you hate me for that, that's all good. But statistically speaking, throughout history, there's been a pretty consistent number throughout. 7 people haven't hit the like button. Elaine, I like your style. Annie had big boobs. Wasn't her. Yeah. Well, I mean, people strap those things down too. If Savannah found out right away that, she could have called Senator Kelly for that reason. I think more likely that was probably a call that, if I were her and I had political ties, and she obviously had a lot of political ties. Yeah, G-Man. If it was a female, that gun would be a lot more comfortable there than it would be if it was a guy, right? Walking and having a couple of pounds of steel hit you in the junk would suck. Don't see it as a female. The mustache looks too real. Doesn't look fake at all. Yeah, and I'll tell you something. That's an interesting point, Punisher. I used to put on stuff to make myself look different if I was going to do a bank. And sometimes you would glue apparatus to you, right? You can make your nose look different. You can glue on hair. The mustache is the hardest thing in the world to fake. They never, ever look real. No matter how good they are, no matter how expensive they are, they never, and I mean never, ever look real. That's actually a fairly astute point in my opinion. Heather, I'm still working on them. The day that I had today, someday I'll tell you the whole story of today because it's absolutely unbelievable. While you and I disagree completely on the Kohberger case, that's one of the reasons I'm here all the time. That's what grown folks do. Agree to disagree and discuss it. Daniel Phillips, do you think he was innocent? Out of curiosity, it doesn't make, you haven't seen my Italian grandmother. My wife, Reese, right here, likes to joke that she has a mustache. She's always doing that. Or a beard. Go over there and subscribe at my wife's channel. She will keep you laughing, and she's probably 93% nicer than I am. Yeah, Daniel, I would love to hear, I know a lot of people don't think Brian Kohberger did this. I can't imagine pleading guilty to a crime that you didn't do, right? And normally there's elocution in that. You're going to have to, they don't want somebody that, they are elements of the crime that no one is going to find out about. The number of people that go in on cases, hey, Locke, that go in on cases and try to plead guilty to things that they didn't do is astounding, right? So, that's why they film all of the interrogations these days, because they're going to ask questions that only the person that was there knows. But I know a lot of people are in your corner. Heck, sorry for the craziness. I will post the whole comment in the comment section when your live is done. Patty, it happens. And look at that. Brock put up the link to my wife. I'm telling you, I've never sent anybody over there that asked for that money back refund. But if you go over there and she doesn't make you laugh, I will give you the money back. And usually, you find out a lot of dirt about me. I've seen some very butch women, yeah, with a gait like that. Joining late, I don't know if this has been asked before. What about Tommaso's booking agent at the front door? Very interesting. And no, I don't know that anyone has ever brought that up. Hold on one second, because See that? I love it when I say, what's your theory? And they do it. Marilyn Monroe had facial hair, silica cilia, something like that. Yes, Marilyn was absolutely amazing. I have done more deep dive on the Marilyn Monroe case than on anything I've ever done. Hey, Tommy, bring Savannah. Being Savannah worked in TV. Could it be an actor, actress, or someone she works with for heavy makeup like Johnny Knoxville and Jackass when he plays the old man and does the gags in public? Here's the crazy thing. You can buy all of that stuff online now, right? They make those real masks. For a while, those real masks were sold to people and they didn't take down information or anything else. The number of people that robbed banks using those, one guy got on a plane with it on and then took it off on the plane. Smart. Maybe not 100% innocent. I will never believe it was done by one person. I got you. I think he's playing the long game. Crazy as it sounds, but I could be wrong, and I accept that too. I completely understand the thought that this has to be. It doesn't want to check out, right? It doesn't want to check out that this person could go in there and take out 4 people, right? 2 of them men, and pull that off. There is a couple of things in there though that I think go in that direction. You saw when they first entered that house, right? Beer pong cups everywhere. If you're liquored up, right? Somebody can walk up and start on that process before you really have your shit together at all. But from a guy that's done a decent amount of time in some really ugly prisons, like I was at Victorville, I was at Lewisburg, I was in some ugly ass prisons. Most people, once they get in there, they'll start singing real quick. If there was somebody else involved, they would be calling right now and going, I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. You're going to get me out of this one, right? You're going to send me to a medium yard and I will tell you everything that went down, what happened. But I do understand there. Patty, I love that, man. I love that. He's playing the long sentence. Well, it's a very, very hard thing, even for people that think they're hard. Is it still possible to rob a bank and get away with it versus back in the day? I would say no. There's no chance you're going to rob a bank and get away with it. It's just, if I were doing it today, I would have got caught on the first one that I did. Now there are cameras everywhere, man. Like I would leave a bank, get in a car. I never had a getaway driver, right? I would leave, get into a car, drive away. Now, granted, the car was not my car and I was going to ditch it, but there are cameras everywhere now, right? You're going to be filmed everywhere, right? Everywhere. And Heather says, Patty's right. As I say, no one has ever come back and said, I want my money back. Case in point, Derek is hugging that soap tight because Bubba is waiting for him. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to be your first time going to prison is really tough. And most people, their first time going to prison is for possession of stolen property, right? It's not your first go around usually isn't vicious, violent, and going to put you in a maximum security prison or stupid stuff that keeps upping where you're going, right? I saw something about Koberger saying that after his crime, he would watch on TV to see what they knew. Can't spell, you know what? It doesn't matter how you spell it. I would imagine that was being done. Very often I went to a hotel and I would hang out at the hotel because I didn't crap where I ate. I would leave the state I was in to commit these crimes in other states. And I would go to like a Motel 6 kind of a thing. And I always threw on the local news. To hear if they said they were, looking at people or had a suspect or any of that crap. But then you've got to do a lot of drugs and stop looking at it or it will drive you absolutely insane. Maybe Savannah found out Annie was caregiver exhausted and riding a fine line of mental health issues. Came up with a plan that involved Luke, FedEx guy, band member Kayla. Yeah. I think the FBI is absolutely on this. No, I never used the phone. I knew what would happen if we used the firearm, right? Number one, I might have to use it, and I have no desire to shoot anybody. I just wanted money. And more importantly, if I went in there and I didn't have a gun, I knew how much time I was going to get. If I brought a gun in, or I said I had a gun, or I said I had an explosive device, a bomb, all of those things take a sentence that most guys can do and turn it into a sentence that most guys don't want to, right? I do think the FBI has a hell of a lot. $3.14 a freaking gallon. I don't know what it costs down here. Do you know that? I have no idea. FedEx guy would be Carlos, and it's not technically FedEx, but he makes deliveries. I think about Kohlberger on Judge Judy. He was a 22-year-old law student being sued by two guys. She shredded him. It's not a face you can forget. Tried looking it up, nothing about it. Interesting. Did you use the Wayback Machine? I will look that up for you. If you get the right, AI, they can go to the Wayback Machine and get stuff that's been removed. Right? You can pull some cool stuff on it. This war is on Uber drivers too, says Chef Brian K. He got me for a $150 wine fridge not long ago. $419 here. Good Lord, Mop Man. I saw somebody earlier from San Francisco. Ask them what they're paying. Has law enforcement ever asked you to help solve a crime? No. However, I did get asked by law enforcement if I would be willing to help train interrogators. Not because I would be good at asking questions. They wanted to ask. I spent a lot of time being interrogated by the FBI and never told them anything they could use. They got nothing out of any of the things that I said to them. And I was in there for about a full work week. Lisa Palmer says, Muck Man, are you in Cali? No, he's on the other side of the country. I'd never get in an Uber or Lyft. Too many unscreened predators. There's something to that. You're about 15 minutes southwest of San Francisco. The only guy that my only friend that didn't owe. He lives in Benicia, California, and he calls me every day to tell me how bad the prices of everything are. He'll call and say, how much are you paying in rent down there? And I said, well, we bought a house. He's like, well, what is it? What's rent cost on a 3-bedroom? I said, if I tell you that, bro, with where you live, it's going to absolutely kill you. 266 in New York. What's up with that? I don't know. You're living good. Miss Weedy Poo, I'm glad you're here. I get background checked every year, says Chef Brian Cable. How about that? I'm not going to lie to you. I used a lot of, when I first got out of prison, I was in a halfway house in Oakland, California, right after the riots, right? And everybody said to me, oh, man, you're going to Oakland. You're a white dude. They were so friggin' cool to me. I got along so well with everybody in Oakland. I didn't have one harsh word with anyone in Oakland the entire time I lived there. But they wanted me to take buses to go to where I worked, and taking buses and then walking the last 2 miles, because that's where the last bus stop was a 1 hour and 30-minute one-way commute. And I was like, yep, we'll do that. And the second I walked out, I would set up an Uber driver and come get me, because it was just ridiculous. But they didn't want us taking Uber. And although I wasn't breaking any laws, me and 3 other guys bought a car, saved us a ton of money on Uber, and we'd park it down the street, rotate it to a different street every night. And what was also cool is if they said, hey, you're getting off early, we could do things like go and look at things to look at. But I never did anything wrong. True story. One night they were like, I know where we can go to a house. He's like, there are hookers at this house. They're going to have, I was like, I'll see you guys later. I'm not going. And they're like, what, are you kidding? I said, no, I am not kidding. I will be that dude. That will be the night they do a raid. I'm like, nothing's sending me back. I have an Eminem vibe. I've never heard that before. My ex had a DUI and used fake ID and disguise and got approved by Uber. Wow, that's terrifying. Amy G says 87 octane, $4.53 at Costco in West Palm Beach. Yeah, you know what? You're in West Palm Beach. No offense, you should have to pay that. West Palm Beach is awesome, right? That's you got to pay for that. Is this a death sentence crime? Depending on alive or dead, does it make a difference to the outcome? You have half of us wanting to move to effing Ecuador. Yeah, I mean, this screams special circumstances, right? If you kill someone in the commission of a felony, and then they look at how the death happens, yeah, this could absolutely rise to that level. Is the prison where Kohlberger was sent considered clean? I mean, are there cockroaches in all prisons? I feel it's a silly question. There are not cockroaches in all prisons. In all of the prisons that I've ever been in, I've been in 2 of them that were terrifying. There was, when I was in FCI Phoenix, I was in the shoe. I didn't turn the light off the entire time I was in the shoe, except for the first night. The cop has to do it from the outside of the cell, and he was walking by, and I went, "Hey, boss, can you turn off that light?" And he went, "Are you shitting me?" And I go, "No." Kind of want to go to sleep. He's like, "You got it." He didn't get to the end of the tier before I was banging on the door. I mean, they came out, and you could hear them. And then they run across you. Ah! Found another one of those damn Hamiltons on the floor. Sent it your way. Daniel Phillip, you're a stud. I really appreciate it. I don't drive, but the cheapest gas prices near me are $3.50 a gallon. I don't drive either. I take cabs everywhere I go. And it's actually, I walk a lot too. I walk an awful lot. But if I got to go someplace long distance, I'll tell you the story because I went so far today in a car, longer than I've ever gone anywhere in this country. And I'll tell you the story. But if I start telling it now, I'm going to say words that would embarrass my mother. I'm going to wrap this up, people, because I am running out of time before they're going to turn this power off. And I don't want to lose any of you mid-sentence. I want to thank all of you for being here. Tommy, I agree. Still question son-in-laws. Buddy, I think that they're probably talking to a lot of people behind the scenes. Most of them don't want to go out to the press and go, I just got, I just spent time being interrogated about this case. They wanted to talk to me. Most people aren't going to do that for a lot of reasons, especially in the days of the internet and true crime, because it is not a benefit, right? Even if you've been found not, look at what the net, right? If you're not guilty, and I've never said that. Never said the guy was guilty, but if he's not guilty, look at how bad this has screwed up his life. Daniel Phillips, thank you so much. Heather, thank you. I appreciate it. That would be Heather, whatever, because there's a lot of you. Misty Blankenship, thank you so much. Daniel Phillips, I appreciate it more than you know. You are keeping free speech alive, and that is a good thing. And to all of you that hit the like button and the subscribe button, I appreciate it. Do hit up Johnny Scoville's channel. That's Chase the Heat. And leave a bunch of comments. I won't tell you the number, but Johnny Scoville is about to hit a number on the number of comments that he's got. I am going to be on tomorrow night, every single night, somewhere between about 8 and 10. Normally it's 9:05. However, it's kind of been crazy here lately, but I go live usually one time a day, sometimes twice. Hey, Minx, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Tommy, you're a strong person and in our prayers. Thank you. Sorry to hear your little rundown. Please keep slinging truth. You can't go wrong. You're making a difference, and that is much appreciated. What a cool thing to say. Good Lord, what a cool thing to say. Mr. Carson, I'm glad you're here. I said to Johnny, and I said to Reese, I will be able to pull toilets. The energy that I get from you guys. When this is over, I'm going to do this one and crash onto the computer screen. But I'm going to get an awful lot. Who do I have? I still have the same people, man. And sorry to say it, but Nanos kind of backed it up, didn't he? He said, we've had a theory since the very beginning, and that hasn't changed. I think Ashley Banfield told us what that theory was in the beginning, right? I will tell Reese you're praying for her. I appreciate that. Get over there and hit subscribe at Relatable Reese's channel. You know, I trade those subscriptions for huge fun. All right, people, I'm Tommy. I will see you on the next one. Between now and then, continue to pray for this family. This is really, really tough. And thank you for keeping free speech alive and being such a huge part of my show. You guys are the reason it's awesome. All right. Starlink and a generator. You got my word. See you on the next one. Good night.